Hi, this is Lamar, and you're listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. A third space is a term that refers to a safe space for people to come together for respectful dialogue in a spirit of listening, sharing, and learning. In this podcast, we explore what it means to have third space conversations, and we try to model them. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share it, and of course, like it. The more people join us, the quicker we get to third space as a society. Now let's get to third space today.
Hey, Lamar. How's
Hey,
it
Tom.
going?
Great. Howdy doody.
Howdy doody. Oh, man. Howdy
You remember?
doody. I do. I remember howdy doody. I mean,
Huh?
now that like so totally dates us. You know?
It'll date everyone who's listening who understands that too.
All right. So do you remember Captain Kangaroo?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know that Bob Keyshawn, who played Captain Kangaroo, he started out as Clarabelle on Howdy Doody.
Really?
Yeah.
Tom, you were always a trove of useless information. Thank you.
It is useless, isn't it? and there's people that are less seasoned than us, and they're sitting there going, "What are these guys talking about?
Yeah, right.
What's a Captain Kangaroo? Is this like a somebody we salute, or and what is a howdy doody? I mean,
Look it up.
look it up. Well, hey, you know what tomorrow is, right? It is.
Oh, it is a sacred holiday.
It's a sacred holiday. It really. I mean, this is the
Absolutely.
season of sacred holidays, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've been through what? Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's right.
We've been through President's Day.
Absolutely.
Martin
Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
Went through my birthday.
Went through your birthday, which I missed, and I'm so sorry for.
Oh, no worries. No worries. But we are coming up upon probably one of the most sacred holidays.
It's really the high holy of all holidays, isn't it?
I would say it's right up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
And that day is
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. It's on my calendar.
So in honor of April Fool's Day, we're just simply going to have fun today.
That's right.
Yeah. We're just gonna kind of kick some things out there that have kind of caught our attention in the news, or things we've heard about, things we're not even sure are completely true. No, they are true. They're strange but true.
Strange but true.
Strange but true. But
strange and mostly true.
And mostly true. Yeah. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So you want to go first with what's been rattling around in your head?
Oh my gosh. No, I don't want to go up with what's rattling around in my head. But so I will say that from the last episode, maybe it's 2 episodes ago, we had a pretty good conversation, and we were talking about at one point, a brief point, we talked about chickens, and then we talked about the bird flu, right?
Yep.
Well, one of our faithful listeners wanted to make sure that we knew that we had missed it. We were off the mark when we talked about the bird flu. But they didn't really tell me how we were off the mark specifically. So we have a couple of responses for him, right?
So we're just making it up, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, I think I don't know. I'm not even going to guess at what he was thinking. But one, we're going to say, just get over it, right?
Yeah.
Get plenty of rest and drink plenty of fluids and kind of work your way through it. As you can tell.
Is that the advice for chickens with the bird flu, though?
Well, it is. I mean, it's really tough to take a temperature, those little beaks, but
oh no, we don't have to use the other thermometer.
No.
Okay,
we're not going to go down that road. So anyway, let's talk about chickens just for a
go
little bit.
That far.
So
okay,
but by the way, just before we recorded this show, you had a news flash about chickens. that was related to chickens.
Oh, yeah. So Newsweek today is reporting that the price of eggs have fallen. They have fallen $2 in just the last couple of weeks. They're now down around 5.51. I'm assuming that's like the national average, right?
Yeah.
So the price of eggs is falling. But you have a thought on how that occurs, right?
Well,
Or maybe your farmer friend had a thought about that, and he was trying
we're not
to
going to ask him
to you telepathically.
But here are some things though that I because I've had some other conversations with family and friends, and coming from a farming background just like you, we have connections in the real world somewhat when it comes to chickens and livestock and that kind of stuff. But it takes about 4 months from a chicken that hatches to grow to develop to the point where they can deliver eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is all in a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of how many chickens are culled right now, there are chickens that are being grown to replace those chickens.
Right.
And so there are chickens out there already that are replacement chickens. And also I've heard from multiple sources that some of the egg laying facilities have transitioned into laying fertilized eggs to help this process of getting more chickens hatched and back in production. So it only seems like time is on a little bit of a faster track here to get us back to the point where we don't have to buy an omelet at $18.
Yeah. Well, out here they've been putting a surcharge on eggs in the restaurants. You want eggs with that? That'll cost you another $2. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
But here's what's really going to be interesting, and that is if those surcharges go away.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
My theory, and probably a theory of a lot of people, my theory is this whole price of eggs piece, even though I know supply and demand, I understand the concept.
Yeah.
But I also know that they're rationing the eggs out. But I do know that there are subsidies available for replacing chickens who had to be disposed of. Because, by the way, we use the term cold. Tom, they're killing them.
They're killing the
cold.
chickens.
It's a nice word to say kill.
That's right.
So there are subsidies to help those out who need to replace chickens.
Yep.
I don't know what that means and how many people get it, but I know it's available. My point, however, is I really think the price of eggs is a artificially inflated price. And we'll see if they get back down there to where you go, where they were before. And maybe they'll make a liar out of me. I don't know. But that's my theory.
Well, I think it's a pretty good theory. I really do.
Okay.
I mean, even over the last 2 or 3 months, we've seen, we walked into the grocery store one day, you could hardly buy a carton of eggs. And the eggs they had there were $10.99. 2 weeks later, you walk in and they've got eggs and they're $5.75. So it's like, okay, is there a shortage of eggs? Is there not a shortage of eggs? And I think your point is a good one, that there's a cycle.
There's a cycle to it,
and it all. Hey, but I'm going to go back to the idea of baby chicks.
Okay,
for a second. Okay, do you remember getting baby chicks when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. We'd go to Farmington, and we would pick up our trays of baby chicks. And it was so cool because they'd sit in the back of the seat of the car, and the little things would just peep all the way home, just beep, 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 beep. And they were so cute, so cute.
Yeah,
gosh,
for just about 2 weeks.
For about 2 weeks, and then when they become teenagers, it's like any other teenagers. They get pimply and kind of not great looking, and they smell. And
But you're right. They were cute when we got them. And we would put them, we would have shavings on the floor with the heat lamp. And they all huddle under the heat lamps. And,
Yep.
And,
they were just cuter than I'll get out.
We did the same thing with turkeys, and let me tell you, they did not get cuter as they got older.
No. But I just want to say, as a public service, there is another holiday coming up soon, and that's Easter.
Oh,
please do not go out and buy your kids baby chicks.
Oh, do not do that.
Don't do that. That's not good for the chicks.
Yep.
Yeah. Just don't do it.
And well, with Easter too, we're going to have rabbit eggs going to be available too.
Oh, rabbit eggs.
Rabbit eggs.
Okay.
Okay. With that one, we're going to move on.
That's right. Well, speaking of round things, there was a great story about Royal Shrovetide.
Oh my gosh.
And Royal Shrovetide is a medieval version of soccer that's played every year in March in the town of, I believe it's Ashburn in the United Kingdom. And it's fascinating. I mean, the headline that I saw that caught my eye said, "This wild ancient version of soccer has rules like no murder and is still being played today." And then you read the article and you go, "Oh, now I get why no murder."
But those rules go way back.
Way back. I
mean, how far back? Like 1600s.
Yeah, and so this whole town is divided in half. You have the north side or the upside and the downside, right?
Yeah.
And so the hundreds of people play at once. They come out and they begin in this car park or parking lot, as we would call it, in a car park, and they throw the ball up in the air, and the teams begin to move it. And the game goes on for 2 days, 2 8-hour days. The game is played from 2 o'clock until what would be 10 o'clock at night, I guess. Yep. 2 in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night. And the teams have to move the ball down to a goal at the other end of the city. So if you're the upwards, you're pushing it up towards the goal. If you're the downwards, you're pushing it down the other side of the city towards the goal. You go across rivers and lakes. Yep. It's a 3-mile push of the ball.
On the first day when they threw the ball in the air, it took them over 45 minutes to get the ball out of the parking lot.
Yeah. And sometimes they lose the ball and they can't find it. Yeah. And
somebody kidnaps the ball
because the biggest thing that happens is you hide the ball and you hope that you can get it to a runner who can break free. Like they told a story about a runner who the ball was hidden. They got the ball to the runner and he ran a mile and a half with it to the goal. Oh, but it's not just a simple thing with the goal. You get to the goal and you have to touch the ball against the goal 3 times.
3 times. And better hope there's nobody there on that third touch.
Yes, and no murdering allowed.
Here's the interesting thing, and there are hundreds of people play this game. Hundreds. It's a mob. It is a mob.
It is a mob.
Nobody wears any identifying team clothes. So somehow you have to know who's on your side.
And at the very end of the article, they're interviewing a woman who's 75 years old. And she says, "I've been watching Shrovetide since I was 1 year old." 75 years that woman has.
Yeah. So
she loves
all over town, they have what's called play zones.
Yeah.
So they know where they can play. Basically, it comes down to where they can't play.
Yes.
They can't play in cemeteries, which is probably a really good idea.
In churches.
Or in church areas, yeah.
Church areas, right. And so, apparently not in construction sites either.
Well, that would be probably a wise thing.
They had a picture of a guy fishing a ball out of construction site, which was considered off bounds or out of bounds. So, but what... I mean, when you think that there's no way of identifying your team or the other team, it's almost like this wild physical game of international spying, isn't it? I mean,
well, you have to set up a strategy.
Yeah.
But then again, how many strategies per team are they? And they don't even know about each other's strategies, and they're on the same team. Because there's so many people.
Yeah, because you got 100. Yeah, the entire town is divided into 2.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you live on this side of the border, you're on that team. If you live on that side of the border, you're on that team. And then some of you, if you want to be spectators, you can be spectators. And apparently they do draw quite a few spectators to come in.
Yeah, and sometimes the spectators will watch for all day. They don't even see the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
anyway, what does that mean? They like stand around and drink pints of beer and then they move the ball.
I'm kind of thinking, Tom, this might be a destination for us sometime.
It might be. It might. I mean, it sounds safer than running with the bulls.
Well, to be truthful, that's a misnomer. You're not running with the bulls. You're running away from the bulls.
Yeah. The bulls are going.
Yeah.
You can think you're running with us, man, but let me tell you, I'm going to catch you, and you're going to feel it.
Oh well, you know what? Even though this is 1st of April, these are not gotcha kinds of things. These are real things that we're running across.
That's
mostly.
Right. They're strange but true.
Yeah. What else
Oddly true.
What else has been bouncing around in your area?
Actually, you sent me one. I was going to ask you to go deep on this one a little bit. It's a little bit political. It's just that it's so funny.
Yeah. Well, so the commentator Rachel Maddow, she reported on this, and then I happened to run across it somewhere. I can't remember how I ran across it. I didn't watch the show, but I had heard something similar before. The Trump administration, Department of Defense, has been wanting to. I will use the term reduce the number of pictures and identifiers on their websites and in their historical documents, and so several pictures came up for
they actually want to reduce the references to anything that's diversity, equity,
and inclusion,
DE&I, right? Yeah,
under the auspices though of kind of organizing decluttering. But
yes, right.
So it what they're doing is looking for anything that's kind of DEI, which DEI is turned into a very negative term.
Yeah,
which is a whole other podcast for us to talk about sometime. But in any case, they must be using either artificial intelligence or the lack of any intelligence. and one of the photos that was to be decommissioned and no longer available was of the bomber, the airplane bomber, Enola Gay.
Right, which carried the first atomic bomb.
That's correct.
Right.
And
why did they flag that one, Lamar?
Because it says gay on the side of the airplane.
It's named after the pilot's mother, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Enola Gay is the pilot's mother's name, and he named the airplane.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, number one, how old are the people who are doing this? And number two, no, I don't even want to guess kind of where their educational level is at.
Yeah.
But it's got to be, I don't even know how to respond to this thing. This is the silliest, stupidest waste of money that I can think of.
Well, we should call Doge. And have them get on this. Oh my goodness. But so effectively, if I got this right, what they're effectively doing is they're like, pulling up one of Musk's search engines, right? And they're saying gay. Find anything that says gay. So up comes Enola Gay, up comes a few other famous people named Gay,
Gay.
One of which is a general, right?
Yeah.
And
his picture's down already. Yeah.
Now, are they swapping that out? I thought I heard somebody say, I don't know who this was, and so I don't have a source for it, but I thought I heard somebody say or read that they were swapping out the word gay with homosexual.
So that was an earlier report that was given by Rachel Maddow because she referenced it.
Okay.
An earlier report where she had talked about again another person whose last name was Gay, and they changed the dialogue under the picture and changed gay to homosexual. So I can't remember what his first name is, but let's say his first name is Bob.
Bob homosexual.
Major General Bob homosexual instead of Bob Gay. Okay. Yeah. You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make it up. And sometimes you just can't quantify stupid, can you?
No.
I mean, it's amazing.
One of our favorite movies from years gone by with Tom Hanks, it was, Forrest Gump. And what does Forrest Gump say about stupid?
Stupid
is as stupid does. Yeah. Okay.
That's a really, really good one. So
now,
Lamar, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you found an interesting article that just kind of gives me the willies.
Yeah, just let me ask you this question, Lamar. How would you like to sit next to a dead person on a 4-hour flight?
I don't have anything against dead people.
No. Let's be really clear, because
this is not.
We're inclusive. We're not saying anything bad about dead people here. Okay.
No. and it's something we all have. We have to deal with it, and sometimes it's tragic. But we don't want to make fun of that. But this article just kind of gave us the pause to say,
Ooh.
I don't know how long I could sit in that seat beside a dead person.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Well, I don't. Yeah. I'm actually pretty comfortable around death.
Yeah.
As you've heard me say, if I'm given a choice between performing a funeral and performing a wedding, I will take the funeral every time. Right? Mm-hmm. The most fun wedding I ever had was your daughter's wedding and performing. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. But beyond that, I've always felt a lot more comfortable around death. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
But I think that would begin to wear on me.
About hour 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think so. So what we're really talking about here is there was a flight from Australia to on Qatar Airlines, and they were going to the Middle East, and there was a medical emergency. A passenger died, and they needed to put the passenger. But the thing I can't figure out is, didn't the passenger have a seat to begin with? But they needed to move the passenger to another seat. But
so
didn't that person have a seat?
Well, the passenger ended up on the floor. And my understanding of reading the article is they needed to move it into a business class where there was bigger seats available, more room. So I think they were looking in business class.
Okay.
And not in economy.
All right. So they found this couple that were seated together. And they asked the man's wife, it was a male and female.
Wait a minute. They were on their honeymoon, right?
Yeah. No. They were on a trip of a lifetime.
Oh,
to
a trip
Italy.
of a lifetime.
Yeah, they were going to Italy. They've been saving money for this forever, and they were on their way to Italy. And they asked the wife to get up and move to another seat, and they put the body down next to her spouse. Right. And so it was her spouse that actually ended up sitting next to this formerly alive person in the flight for the next 4 hours until they landed. Now, they did put a crew member in the other seat on the other side. Right. So, that was nice. But I think the line that both kind of got us in this was they said, the husband said afterwards, well, they offered all kinds of support to the family of the person who died, but none to us.
None to us.
And I'm thinking, well, there's a bit of trauma there.
Absolutely. Some people there would be none. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I get it. That's not something you want to think about or have to experience. But
Yeah,
it does happen, right? I
it
mean, this is
does.
not an isolated case.
Right. It's rare, but
Yeah.
it does happen. There was one study that came out that suggested that indicated there were 24 mid-flight deaths in the United States in 2024 alone. Well, I mean, that's not a huge number
No.
considering the fact the millions of people that are moved every day by airline. But imagine if you were just unlucky enough to be on one of those flights, and then even more unlucky to share your row with
Mm.
one of those people. I mean, I would suppose that's probably the day to get on the ground and buy a lottery ticket, if you're going to have that kind of luck, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I, and as we dug a little bit deeper into this, we did find some interesting things.
Hmm.
The deaths are precipitated by what's called an in-flight medical emergency, and the most
Hmm.
common of those, by the way, is cardiac.
Right.
And
Right.
then
Makes sense.
seizures rank pretty high as well. But here's the funny thing is that there's really no consensus, as we understand it, on the definition of what constitutes an in-flight medical emergency. And there is no international or national mandatory reporting system or data set of in-flight medical emergencies. This might suggest it would be a good idea to have one. But then at the same time, a lot of the data on in-flight medical emergencies is kept private by the corporate airlines. I'm guessing that's, part of that may be just, well, some of it has to be out of consideration. Some of it has to be perhaps out of marketing consideration
I would
that,
imagine.
fly with us and get to share your seat with a dead person,
You know,
you know?
I would imagine there's a little bit of sense of confidentiality
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sensitivity,
and I
consideration.
appreciate that, to be honest with you. And again, of us having this up on April Fool's Day, it's really about like one of these. How would we handle that kind of situation? It's not so much that we would, we don't want to at least support and understand the impact of someone who dies on a flight.
Yeah.
Because many times people are not alone.
Yeah,
When
that's
they're
right.
flying.
That's right. But I would have to say, if it were me seated next to that person, I would find it really, really difficult because I really enjoy chatting with people that are next to me.
Yeah.
And I would feel like that was a loss for me because I'm sure that person's not going to say a whole lot.
Are you one of the chatty
am.
persons in the
I am.
row?
I am.
You want to know everything about what's going on. What are you reading? Hey.
Oh, no. Tell me about yourself. My conversation always begins this way: going out or coming home.
Oh, okay.
And I cannot tell you how many times that just opens a gate for people just to talk to me, because they'll tell me where they've been, or where that they're coming home, and sometimes they'll say, well, what are you looking forward to doing when you get home?
Yeah.
And it's I haven't found a better opening line than that one on an airplane.
So Tom, I don't know if you remember this, but a few years back, I was on a flight heading out of Wichita.
Yep.
I can't remember where I was going, and I had a really chatty guy beside me, and it, I kind of ignored it for a little while. Then finally, I started responding to him, and then he said, I said, well, okay, what do you do? And he goes, well, I work at a small college. Well, at that time, I was working for a small college too. I said, oh, where's this college at? He said, in Haviland, Kansas. I go, really? I said, so do you happen to know, and I referenced your name, Tom Klaus. Oh, yeah, I know who Tom Klaus is. So, oh, my gosh. My childhood friend who now lives in Maryland. I'm sitting beside a guy from Central Kansas who happens to know you and who you are.
Yeah, and I know who that person is you're talking about, right? Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So anyway, as we go along in our stories today,
you got the next one, man. What? You're up.
Okay. Well, so Tom, if someone were to ask you, if they were to come up to you and they say, Tom, I need a donut. It's an emergency. What would you do?
Well, I know where the Dunkin' Donuts is near my house. I would go get him an emergency donut.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
and by the way, it's no longer Dunkin' Donuts. It's just Dunkin'.
Dunkin'. Yeah, that's
Dunkin'.
right.
So when you're a toddler and you find a telephone, a phone in your grasp, and you push the 911 call, the button, because I'm guessing it didn't dial 911, probably pushing the emergency help button.
Yep.
This child in Oklahoma was playing with an old cell phone, you know, probably disconnected. But what people don't realize is disconnected old cell phones will still dial 911.
911.
And a lot of those are given to victims of domestic violence, for example. So they can't receive calls on it, but they could call 911. Anyway, this child had access to one and pushed the emergency call button, got 911. And I got to give kudos to this 911 operator trying to, number one, understand a toddler, and number two, assess whether there was any kind of emergency. And what it came down to was the toddler eventually said, response to, "Can I help you? Is it an emergency?" "Yep, I need emergency donuts." Emergency donuts.
The little kid just kept saying, "Emergency donuts, emergency donuts." I don't think his vocabulary was very large at this point, right?
No, but it was probably accurate as to what he needed.
Well, because when she answered, she says, "This is 911. What is your emergency?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, a new word."
A new word.
And he wanted donuts.
And just like a child ought to do.
Yeah.
Took new words, put them together to make a phrase and to get what they want.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And he did.
He did.
So you want to tell him how he got the donuts?
No, I don't know how I got the donuts.
Oh, well, the police responded.
Oh, the police responded.
And they brought him they brought him donuts. And now I know it's a cheap thing, isn't it? But
well, it's April Fool's Day.
But we got to say it, right? I mean, who's going to know where donuts are better than police, right? We just want to say sorry to all of our police friends. Okay, we love you.
We don't think of you in that way, but
we don't think of you. Yeah, but
a toddler made the right call.
But don't be surprised if you hear from this young man again at some point. He wants emergency donuts. But well, yeah, I love that story. That just made me laugh out loud when I saw that. And by the way, we have a link in the show notes where you can go and listen to the 911 call.
Oh yeah, and you can actually read all of these articles that we're referencing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's all going to be in the show notes. But well, speaking of the police, let's bring the sheriffs in on this for just a second.
Oh,
because in Texas, just south of Oklahoma, Texas deputies were called out to wrangle a kangaroo in a red jacket.
Okay.
Now,
a kangaroo in Texas.
A kangaroo in Texas that was wearing a red jacket. I guess it's because they have so many kangaroos in Texas that it was fairly easy to pick this one out because he was wearing a red jacket, right? I mean,
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But, well, okay. Tell me more about this story.
The sheriff's deputy that was assigned to this, he posted on Facebook. He says there is a kangaroo in it was Fayette County, Texas. There's a kangaroo in a red jacket that's been spotted. It's this and this location. If you've seen this kangaroo in a red jacket, let me know. And he gets it. So he gets it and he gets it returned to the kangaroo's name was Jack. All right. So he captures Jack and he gets him back to his owner. But what I found really, really interesting about this story, Lamar, is not so much that there was a kangaroo in Texas, because I mean,
there's a lot of exotic animals in Texas.
There's a lot of exotic animals all over the country, including Texas. And so I wasn't terribly surprised that there would be a kangaroo in Texas. But the deputy didn't say offer any explanation as to why the kangaroo was in a red jacket.
Well, some of the people who responded underneath had some ideas, but nobody could really come up with a reason why the kangaroo was in a red jacket. Do you know why he was in a red jacket?
No, why?
I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I never found out the answer.
Well, if anybody out there knows why the kangaroo was in a red jacket, don't you dare leave a message that says it's because all the black ones were taken. Don't do that. We don't want to hear that. We want to know, why was this kangaroo in a red jacket?
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to hear.
Kangaroos, from what I'm learning just by watching kangaroos on television, is that they're not something to be snubbed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to wrestle one, they are pretty good at defending themselves.
Yes. That's what I've heard. They don't spit at you the way llamas do.
Llamas do, right?
Yeah, but they'll pummel you. So, they'll punch you out pretty good.
Yep.
Oh,
okay.
All right. Wow. Well,
so
that was, yeah. So we had our two obligatory police stories in there.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I mean, kudos to the first responders, and not just the police, but the deputies, the fire people, the EMTs. I mean, they run into some strange situations.
Yeah, that's true.
And things that just never make the news. But any of them, you sit down with them, and just ask them, so what's the oddest thing you've run into? You're gonna hear some really cool stuff along the way. So kudos to them for doing that kind of stuff for us.
Tom, I'm glad that I can see you on the screen, because I can tell when you're laughing.
Oh, you can?
But in this,
yes,
about our next story, it may not be the case.
This was one of the weirdest. I think this is our last story, actually, but it is. I think so. It is one of the weirdest stories that I think I've ever run into. Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay, I'll tell you. But go ahead and add to it as I go along, because honestly, I may not have this whole story in my head. But the whole in the UK, one of the most famous comedy clubs has put a stipulation on some folks who are not allowed entry into the comedy club.
Right.
Okay. The club has effectively banned any guests who have had Botox recently
in their face.
Yeah. This is a club of some prestige. I mean, they've had Amy Schumer, they've had Dave Chappelle, this is not just a back alley.
It's not a Funny Bone.
No.
And no offense to Funny Bone, I love Funny Bone. I just want to say, okay.
And no offense to Botox. No offense to Botox, but the two are having troubles reconciling. So the club owner has claimed that the comics are frustrated because so many people who have had Botox are attending, and they can't tell whether their jokes are landing or not because there's no facial expression.
There's no facial expression. Yeah, he did an interview with the Independent, a newspaper there in the United Kingdom. And he explained why they were taking this move. And it was a last resort move. They've tried all kinds of stuff, because apparently comics have been saying, no, I'm not coming because, I can't read the audience, Yeah. And he says, our incredibly talented comedians are fed up with performing to reactionless faces. I've had numerous complaints from performers who find it increasingly challenging to gauge audience engagement and bounce off their reactions.
Yeah, I totally get this. Both you and I have done a lot of public speaking.
Yeah.
And if people may be surprised to hear this, but both you and I use humor oftentimes in our presentations, right?
Right.
I will tell you, and I'm going to get some pushback on this one, but I've been totally transparent on this in my career. When I went from the world that I was working in before coming to higher education. Working the crowd, doing a presentation worked really well. But when I started presenting to faculty, it was a different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like no eye contact, no facial expressions, and
Right.
I didn't know if I was landing the information, if I was making people angry, or if they were tuning me out, or what it was. I finally, after my first year, when I had a chance to meet with the faculty again and address them, I said, "Folks, you scare me."
Yeah.
And then they all looked up at me. I said, "I can't read you. I don't get any feedback, and I know you're engaged." And so every time I would get up after that, and I worked there 11 years, I was very clear to say, "I really need to hear from you. I need to understand if you know what I'm saying." So I get it. If I can't read the faces, I don't know if what I've said is getting through, if it's bombed, if I'm the schmuck, if I'm, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I ever told you this story or not, but I traveled the country for a while doing a lot of school presentations, high school assemblies and stuff like that. And I did a program at one of these high school age military institutes outside of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And, I get in there, I'm all set up. Everybody comes in military order. All these young cadets, they sit down, right? And they're just as rigid as chairbacks, right? They're like that. And I started into my presentation, which intentionally is designed to engage people and with humor and stuff. And I come out with my first thing that is supposed to engage them, right? And all of a sudden they start going, whoop, 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 whoop. I go, it scared the holy crud out of me, right? Like, what in the, what? I was so taken back, I just stopped. And I looked over at their commanding officer and I said, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "Sir, if I may, sir." Yes, what? And he says, "They're voicing approval, sir." "Oh, thank you." That's how it went. The rest of they moved in all the right places, which was nice, but it was sure strange. And but I can't imagine what it's like in that comedy club.
No, I can't either. And also I can't imagine how the constituents are going to react to this. I'd like to hear a follow-up.
Oh yeah. We need to follow this news because this is fairly recent news out of the UK. UK. Maybe
we have a friend in
we may have to bring Ed Traeger in and say, "Ed, tell us about that. We want you to go to the comedy club, right?"
Yeah.
and tell us how it's working out. But okay, so, and we were talking about this before.
Okay.
So who will no longer be allowed to go to the comedy club?
Maybe Cher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madonna.
Yeah. Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Right. And there's a few men that won't be allowed to go as well.
Yeah.
And some of them are on local television in the news. News readers.
We probably ought to stop. So, Tom, I have this feeling that you and I are going to get more responses of people commenting on our commentary today than maybe others that we've done. But we'll see.
That's a possibility. But
we've tried not to be irreverent, but we have definitely we felt today was a day with all the seriousness that's going on around us.
That's right.
To enjoy a April Fool's Day.
And we hope going forward that for you will mark your calendars now and understand the high holiness of April Fool's Day.
Yeah, it's a sacred day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, wow, Lamar. Okay, so I guess that kind of puts a wrap on this one, huh?
I think so. We haven't told people for a long time how they can get a hold of us. Do you want to share that information?
Sure. First of all, you have to use a lot of Botox. No, just kidding. Okay. One, you can actually go to our Spotify website and you can leave us a voicemail message, and that's always appreciated. You can send us email. And our emails are very similar except in one regard, and that's our name. So mine is Tom, third space, and that third is 3RD, third space at gmail.com, and Lamar's is Lamar, third space at gmail.com. Right. And you can also make comments if you're listening to us on our Substack. You can go ahead and make comments there. We would love to hear from you. Actually, here's the challenge. So, you got any thoughts about why the kangaroo was wearing a red jacket?
Please tell us.
Please tell us. Yeah,
we want to know.
Yeah, and we should probably mention some of the platforms where they can find us as well.
Sure.
Lamar?
Sure.
Go for it.
Oh, well, iHeartRadio. And certainly YouTube. If you want to actually look at us, YouTube under Klaus House Productions, right?
Right, Klaus House Productions.
That's right. The new one. And then we also are available wherever you get podcasts, typically Apple Podcasts. Google is not going to be holding those podcasts anymore, are they?
No,
they're
not.
Google has done away with podcasts.
Yeah, they've done away with Google Podcasts, but we're on Amazon. We're on, as you said, iHeart.
Just about any others.
Yeah, I'm always really surprised where we appear, and I don't expect us to appear.
Yeah.
So now it would be nice if we would get so many going that they begin to pay us for this, but we're 2 or 3 million away from that, I think. Still.
Yeah. I don't think we've got that big of a readership or listeningship, but we have a pretty good listeningship. So
we actually do.
We appreciate everyone's willingness to participate, and this has been a great time. Tom, it's been great. You've been through a lot this year already, with not just the move, but the health issues and surgery, and etc. I've been under the radar on a few of those things, but I'm back at it, and I think that you and I deserve a time to just kind of let loose, and so I hope people tolerated this and enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, this is a lot like what happens when we get together to plan the show, right? I mean,
that's correct.
That's pretty much it. All right. Well, hey, Lamar, have a really wonderful April Fool's Day tomorrow.
Yep, will do. You as well.
I will do that. See you soon.
All right, take care, man.
Tom here. Thank you for listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. Remember to click on subscribe to get notices about new episodes, and be sure to like and share the podcast as well. Opinions and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of Lamar Roth and Tom Klaus, and we'd like to hear your opinions and ideas too. You can leave us a voice message on Spotify, or you can email us at the addresses found in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you can find links to some of the things we talked about today, so you can check them out yourself. Until next time, keep moving forward toward third space.